Me and him once spent an hour attempting to put me on dating apps. We went through all the dating apps. We spent like an hour while streaming once, just doing your profile and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So we derailed the whole stream.
I think that's a very interesting subject, dating apps.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of missed that whole thing. I'm kind of glad I did, to be honest with you. No offense to anybody. But can you name? I'm sure somebody must have done. I have. I've been on some horrible dates in my time, but I've never been on a Tinder date. Is there any one of yours that's really, really amusingly funny, or anything that went really bad? I can tell you one of mine, just a standard date.
Not really, because Tinder it's all about looks. Like the one, even if you put something funny in your profile, they won't go past your looks.
Yeah, because it's literally swipe left or right. That's what it is. Yeah, you have to like the look of the person before.
And if you
Isn't that horrible though?
But that's what that. But that is. No, but that's. I'm not. That doesn't sound like. I don't want to sound. I don't want to sound horrible, but like attraction is part of it. Like, you have to be physically attracted to them, otherwise you're never gonna.
That's true. That's
yes,
very true.
Yes and no. I sort of agree with you, but I sort of don't agree with you. Yes, you've got to have that physical attraction there, but you could get with someone that's really beautiful, but then it turns out they're a fucking.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, you got to have both, but the initial contact is the attraction. That's always the first point of.
Oh yeah,
I think for me anyway, personally.
I mean, you look across the bar and you go, "Oh, she's a bit of a right," and then you start front over and you say, "Hello, darling, how you doing?"
That's not being like.
Here's a tip for you guys, right? If you want to get a 9, pull 3 threes, and then you've got yourself a 9.
That's true.
There you go.
That's true.
Yeah, did you ever hear the who's saying it was Willie Nelson, 10 with a 2. Scores of the lines. Last night I came in at 2 with a 10, but at 10 I woke up with a 2.
See, I've got it
a few times.
I've got it in a folder. I don't know if you can see it. Probably not. I've got it in a folder. You can't see it, but I've got it on a folder called Other Shit, and Tinder's in that folder. It's in the folder with Neon Cam, that infection app. Create your own virus, and VK, which is basically Russian Facebook, where I get all my pirated wrestling from.
Pirated wrestling.
It's in a folder called Other Shit.
Other shit.
Yeah, VK.
Ghost, do you want a website? Once we finish this, I'll send you a website that I use.
Is it watchwrestling.net?
Yeah, in.
Yeah, I use that as well. But basically on VK, I can get all like New Japan and like some proper indie Japanese wrestling and stuff.
Yeah, that's some good shit. That is good shit. That like.
You just have to navigate VK. It's Russian, so you have to like
guess.
But it all gets uploaded. There's no like copyright on there. So
I always find people in dating apps to be either the most boring people in the world or to be mental in the face.
Most women that are on dating apps are just there for the verification, like just so they know that they can pull people and get that affection from them people.
How many have I met off of Tinder or Tinder equivalent, whatever you want to use? Plenty of Fish.
Yeah, whichever one.
You start randomly naming all of them.
Probably.
I think I've pulled more women on Facebook than I have Tinder.
I've probably met 3 of them on dates and stuff. Yeah.
Well, how many out of that 3? You don't have to go into detail, mate. But how many of them 3 was all right?
1.
Ah.
A couple of them would have ended in
sex. All quite good looking, but just a bit meh. I'm attracted to mental people, I think, anyway. To be honest. I honestly do. I look back, and again, I'm probably more mental than they are. But I look back through, and I'm like, she was mental. So yeah.
But all ex-girlfriends are mental. I had an ex-girlfriend that brought, on like our second date, she brought a pair of baby shoes.
Yeah.
And offered them to me and said they're for our child. I was only 20.
I am genuinely attracted.
Did you tell that story before? Because I swear I heard that.
Probably have.
Not your standard kind of.
The baby shoes.
I don't know.
Which is you attracted to, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'll tell you a funny dating. I've never told you this one. Basically, I went to meet this bird, and it was down in Surrey, and Surrey is like rich capital of the world, right?
Capital of the world.
Well, it's rich, it's Ponzi, it's all the rich people.
Anyway. Probably richer than where we're from.
Oh, most definitely. In comparison to where I'm from, bloody hell, it's like crazy. No, but do you know that if Surrey was a country on its own, it'd be the third richest country in the world? Isn't that crazy? But anyway, I met this bird and I went out for a date with her, but I turned up early. And me being a West Midlander, I was on the lager, so I drank about
Got
10
fucking
pints before
shit
she
faced.
even got there. Well, anyway, she goes to me, we're going to go to the car, we're going to go into town. And so I goes, look, I need a piss. So I ran off in front. I don't know why I didn't go to piss in the pub, no idea. But I ran off in front and taking a piss up this car in the middle of Surrey. It turns out it was her car. It was one of them Rocksters, those little sportsy things, and I was taking a piss up the front of it. So yeah, that didn't go down very well, obviously.
Somewhere there's a podcast where a girl's telling about a date she went on. She shows up and the guy pisses on her car.
But
She
my
might,
comeback
she might
line
be
was
into that. You never know.
I don't think she was. She never contacted me again. But I wouldn't blame her. I was a fucking arsehole. I'd had like 10 pints by the time she got there. West Midlander as well. We were all right, us like
Up the West Midlands.
some of us
I'm a southern boy.
Southerners.
Oh,
I lived
a
in
small
Surrey for 6, well, down south wise for 6 years. It's a good, it's a nice place. I like. They used to call me a northern twat a lot, but other than that, I never understood that. We're 120 miles up the motorway, and I'm a northern twat. How does that work?
Oh, you're north.
Yeah, you're not even northern, are you?
No,
Like,
it's that.
it's Midland. It's in the middle. Yeah.
It's always the same. And also, you get northerners say, "Oh, you're a southerner," and it's like, well, fucking, I'm in the middle, innit?
You're in the middle. Yeah.
I'm more Welsh than anything
Yeah,
else.
you're in the middle. You haven't got like you've got an accent, but not like it's literally in the middle. Your
Yeah,
accent. Yeah.
in the middle everywhere. Always in the middle. We're just halfway between everything.
Yeah.
What was your other questions, mate?
Well, I've got one more, so we're going to stretch it out.
We will. Don't worry, mate.
Oh yes. Toys when you were a kid, yeah. Well, it's two questions actually. What was your like action figure or whatever? What was your go-to toy as a kid that you'd always play with all the time, obsessed
I
with?
used to make my Teddy Ruxpin curse.
Oh, Teddy Ruxpin, that had the tape, didn't it?
Yeah.
Well, no, it was one you would. Well, yeah, they had one of those too.
Yeah.
The next one, I had the original one like when I was a kid because it first came out where you would squeeze the hand and it would just record what you said and only play back what you had just said. So I would like say like
Make it
I was
swear and
2
shit.
and 3, and I would make it say fart and shit, and I bring it to my mom. I'm like, it's not me. I swear, it's the bear.
So the question is, what was that? Obviously, what is your most like? What is you obsessed with, and like what you always played with all the time, like your main sort of figure and stuff. And then what your friends had. So what toys did your friends have that were really cool that you really wanted, but you never convinced your parents to get you, but you was like secretly jealous and you really wanted them, or you'd go around your mate's house to play with them and stuff like that.
Go around your mate's house and nick them.
Yeah. Like, yeah. What is the one thing like?
I think my favorite toy.
Apart from go on.
My favorite toy was like a Matchbox Knight Rider car.
Yeah,
that was my favorite toy. Something that my friends had that I wanted to nick.
What was your biggest craze that you proper got into as a kid, like obsessively? I had two actually. I had two.
Final Fantasy X. I accidentally stole my mate's copy because I broke mine, so stole his.
Accidentally stole it. Sorry, I've accidentally stole this.
Oh dear,
I got into like
what
the
a shame.
Ninja Turtles.
Ninja Turtles, they were cool.
Yeah, that was one. That was one of mine. Like I was
the Technodrome. I had the one. Like,
and also I had a sort of half friend. He was a friend for a while because I met him when I was on holiday. But he had like all the alternative like versions of the Turtles that you could only get over in Canada. So he had all the different. So I'd actually met him on holiday in Jamaica when I was a kid, and he had all this collection of turtles I'd never seen before and all these enemies. I was mesmerized. But on the flip side, I was into the wrestling figures and I had loads of them, and he was kind of mesmerized with the wrestling figures. So I played with his. Yeah, it was mad. It was mad. But I just remember
I had the wrestlers, and they used to fight with the Ninja Turtles. Like I'd have the Undertaker, Flying Brian Pillman, who was they? Ric Flair, all those little
mix of special guest wrestlers, the Turtles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I used to make all my toys play football. I used to get like those snooker cue balls. Used to get one of
Yeah.
them and just used to get me to play football. And just pretend and be the commentator. Oh my God, Rocky Johnson kicked the ball to Andre the Giant. What a goal!
I used to take
Andre the Giant.
the NFL like little models where they had like their own dolls, not dolls, but they were like figurines, and I used to have them play, and I would use one of my GI Joe's grenades as a football because they didn't actually have footballs to play with, so they'd be throwing grenades back and forth to each other.
I had quite a destructive mentality with my toys. Like, say I'd be like having a battle in the back garden. If one of those figures died in the battle, some of them I'd actually literally destroy, like
Smash them up.
Yeah, and then I'd be like, oh shit. It was weird. I'd like to get buried alive in the garden, and they'd be really buried, and then I couldn't find them. And like a couple of years later, my mum would be weeding or something. She'd be like, "Oh, it's Superman," with worms growing out of him and stuff like that.
That's what happens at my house because it's full of them. The one thing we used to do, you used to make Airfix models, and my brother was a fucking mental case anyway. He used to set them fire.
But Zeus's toys were Warhammer figures.
They were cool, though, Warhammer figures. I never had the patience to paint them. Model airplanes. I used to do them. I used to try and do them. They used to get frustrated and just coat them in glue and then stick them on the ceiling.
Yeah.
But then my brother used to set fire to them.
Yeah, as you were saying Sonic, he had everything Sonic. My stepdaughter loves Sonic too.
Aside from turtles and wrestling figures, I was always a generation behind my friends with consoles. Like my friend down the road, we used to always go and swap houses or whatever and play. So I had like an NES, but he'd always be one step in front, and he used to piss me off when I was a kid.
Bastard.
He would have the Super Nintendo, and it was just, it was annoying but cool at the same time. But I could never convince my parents to always upgrade at the time. They would upgrade, but say, for example, I got a Mega Drive when the bloody PlayStation came out. You know what I mean? So
I had
a step behind.
I had a VIC 20 when the NES came out, and then when the Mega Drive came out, I had a Commodore 64, and then when the PlayStation came out, I didn't have anything until I could afford it myself. So I grew up on I had a ZX Spectrum in the middle somewhere as well.
I remember my parents didn't want to get a Sega because they said it wasn't going to be anything. It was going to like die out, and no one was ever going to get them, and no one would ever play it. So like,
you never thought that was going to be Atari, did you? Everyone put their money in Atari, and that went flat on its ass. That. You know what killed Atari?
E.T.
No, man. It was, that didn't help either. But you remember that advert where it used to say, "You must be stupid if you can't work out 64-bit is better than whatever it was at the time." There was a teacher at the front of the class, and all the people looked stupid there, and she was like 64-bit, and it just killed the whole thing. Yeah. But because their processor was 2 individual 32-bit kernel processors, so
it wasn't true. Yeah.
No, it was kind of true, but it was really hard to get them to work in unions, unisys, or whatever. You know what I mean? Together. So it was really hard to do that, and to actually program around that was really difficult, and that's why it kind of died.
So, Bol, what toys did your friends have that you wanted but you could never quite get? Or you
all my mates had like air guns and catapults and stuff like that. We used to play gat guns in the forest and shoot each other with darts. Yeah,
what is the myth of the Black Widow catapult? Everyone says you want a Black Widow catapult. And I was like, I don't know what.
Black Widow.
It's just a catapult, right?
Yeah, it's just a catapult. It had like a strap that went around your arm and it shot ball bearings, but they fucking hurt when they hit you. Jesus.
100%. Yeah.
Cool. These gat guns we had, they were like pushback guns, and you put little darts in them. We used to play manhunt in the woods, and we used to shoot each other with them. But they're like toys, as in proper toys. Let me think. I'm going off the subject again.
Your your friends must have had that. You were like, that was so cool. But
I never had friends, so I didn't know.
It was always computers. My mate had an Amstrad CPC with the monitor and everything, and it was fucking amazing. The Amstrad CPC, it was like a tape. It was a computer, and I was always jealous of that. But I could never put that in my pocket when I walked out, so I never got that one.
I was like a smug prick and pretended everybody wanted what I had.
I know, in the sense of like toys. I'm trying to think now. Radio controlled cars. I fantasized about having like petrol radio control cars. I love them things.
I had a good radio control car. I had a really good like a It was called a Hornet.
Yeah, yeah.
It was like you build it yourself from scratch.
A Hornet was a posh one, man. You were posh, eh?
My uncle got me that. It was proper like lethal as well. They'd break your
Yeah, they were
ankles if
quick,
it drove
they were.
into you.
It was back in the 80s. It was the Hornet and the Grasshopper, which were the
That's it.
badass
Yeah.
ones.
Yeah, I had the Hornet. Yeah.
I think my brother's mate had a Grasshopper, and I was always like, oh fuck, I want that thing.
Yeah.
That was cool. But in the sense of figures, I never really had. I had to start, and you're going to think I'm lying, and I'm going to tell you anyway. I had every single fucking Star Wars figure, every single fucking one. My dad bought them from a car boot sale back in like 1984, gave them all to me, and I played with them for a couple of years. And then my mum said to me, "What do you want to do with all them? Put them in the rubbish bin."
I did that with a load of NES games.
Seriously,
down the tip.
Fucking hell.
Unbelievable. I mean, it was a good maybe 40 games.
40.
Yeah, why would you do that? You wouldn't do that now. I wouldn't. If you told me that now, I'd be like, "No, Darren, what are you doing?" But I was just like, "Yeah, check into the skip."
I'm crying a little bit.
Yeah,
I'm thinking of my Star Wars figures sat next to your Nintendo games.
They're like that. Oh no, getting crushed down the skip
in a landfill somewhere.
Real life Toy Story.
I remember back when the Power Rangers came out and they got big. Like getting the toys for the Power Rangers was a big deal.
Yeah.
And like I had
Didn't they make a movie out of that because of the struggle?
Yeah, there's been 2 films, right? I think there's been a recent one, the last couple of years, and like a.
I remember when the Power Rangers figures came out and they had problems at Christmas, and I'm sure didn't Arnold Schwarzenegger make a movie where he had to find. And it wasn't it looked exactly the same as a Power Ranger figure, but it wasn't a Power Ranger.
Turbo Man.
All the way away.
Turbo Man.
Turbo Man, yeah.
I don't know what the hell I was saying.
Remember Turbo Man?
I remember that movie.
Jingle All the Way.
Was it?
Movie. Yeah, Jingle All the Way is the name of the movie.
Oh, I was right. Holy shit!
And he has to fight that guy for the last figure, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And then he basically puts on the costume, and then the kid sees his dad is fucking.
Fine. So sorry to interrupt you guys, but after 40 minutes, I finally got window capture to work.
Oh.
So now I'm just casually sorting it out. So people are watching this live, me sort it all out. So no problem.
Well, it looks impressive live.
I'm really big on this screen. I'm scared now.
Hello, everybody. By the way, there's a few people there. Theriomatic. Maniac. Hello there. How are you?
Pyromaniac.
I've got it on my phone. Looking at the chat.
Sorry if I'm reading it wrong. I'm severely dyslexic. I can sometimes not even spell my own name, so bear with me. They were leather. Or lethal leather.
They were leather.
They were those Black Widows were nasty, man. My brother had a Black Widow, but it was red. Don't know why they called it a Black Widow, but it was red. And you could bang. I promise you, it used to make dents in like remember the corrugated iron, massive dent. But my brother, he used to shoot. He used to have a Was it? It's only a light caliber weapon, nothing there. But he had this like semi-automatic thing that he used to do rabbit hunting with, and we used to take it across the field and blast holes in corrugated iron with that. That was fun. Was it 2.22 or something? I can't remember what it was.
Like if you're talking about something small that would shoot like small animals or something, it'd be like a 22 fucking rifle.
2.2. I used to call it a 2.2, but that's maybe just the thing of it. I never was into gun. I shot a pump action shotgun once. That was fucking hilarious. I span around with it. I shot it, and the instructors were behind me, and I just turned around and just like, did I do it right?
No.
They were like, no. That's about as far as I ever got.
I had to do a fucking combat shotgun course where we had to actually run through and do targets and shit like that.
That's what a lot. This one it had that, but of course I was just a newbie, so I just blasted the side of these sandbags. But they had like all these barrels and stuff you could leg through and do like barrel rolls and stuff.
Well, we had to do the thing, like the side load, like the trick load or whatever, like where you hold the round on the side and then you put it through the feed and then cock it in and fire it and then run up and then reload it.
Zombie in America, do you have to go through gun training or some sort before you can actually own a gun?
No,
just a license, right?
Well, it depends actually. Depends on there's different laws in different states because the way we're set up is like you have your federal laws and then each state like they have their own laws too. Like in Pennsylvania, you have to go through background checks and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, but people go on about America worrying about this. Now, in South Africa, I can talk from experience. All you need to do is prove that you've lived somewhere for 5 years, have a proof of identity, and you can own a fully automatic. You can buy an AK-47.
Yeah, you can't.
You can have it fully loaded in your house.
That's mad.
Now, both my mother-in-law and father-in-law had like guns under their beds. They just used to keep them under their beds as standard. It's America is actually quite strict in comparison to a lot of other countries. But then also, what you don't know, in the UK, it's easier to go and buy an illegal Uzi than it is to get a license for a shotgun.
Yeah.
It's manic.
Well, it's easier to do it. People will do it that way. That's why. I mean, that's why there's crime and shit. So, like in America, like where I'm at here, like you have to go through a licensed dealer in order to sell and buy guns. Even if you're selling it to a friend of yours, you have to take it to somebody saying, "Hey, here's my gun. I'm selling it to him legally." You have to do a background check on him and do all this shit. In Virginia, where I used to live back in the day, when I was in the military, actually, you can sell a gun just hand over fist, just be like, "Here, you want it?" Like, okay, and you can pass it back and forth. Except
does that gun have documentation? Because in South Africa they had full documentation, like serial numbers and blah blah blah, yakety schmackety.
Well, it has its serial number and stuff like that, but in order to sell it back and forth, like no, at that point you don't. In Virginia, you don't have to. Here, you do. Like you have to take it to a gun dealership and be like, "Hey, here's the serial number," and the dealer actually does the background checks through the state police and the Fed FBI background screenings and shit like that.
So it's registered, that it's been checked and traced and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, that makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it's weird because like in this state, it's illegal for the government or any authority, how they word it, any governing body to maintain or keep a list of gun owners. Like the state is not allowed to know you own a gun. Like it's not allowed to keep records of the fact that you own guns and stuff like that. But they have a loophole where they keep a record of background checks for the purchase of guns. So it's kind of like a weird, like, it's like you have your freedom to own the gun, but we also have our freedom to kind of track it, even though
it's traced. It's traced.
It's traced, even though they're not allowed, and it's awesome. It's kind of like, I don't know, it's weird how our legal system works. Like, technically, it's illegal to do something, but if we do it this way, it makes it legal.
So is that your Second Amendment, the right to bear arms? Am I right?
Sort of. We have the right to organize a militia and actually be a form like a. We're technically allowed to own the same type of firearms our federal government has.
Yeah,
like we're allowed to equal the force of our federal government to prevent them from being able to fight against us.
Yeah.
But what people don't understand is when it means well organized militia, they're talking about the National Guard. Each state has its own National Guard and its own military force. Like that's what the well organized militia really means. Like they have their own military branch that are actually on loan to the government at different times. But like what they're there for is if the government tries to impose their military and use the federal military for any reason, they have the National Guard to fight back and prevent that type thing.
There we go. Done it.
Done it now.
Oh, there we go. That's sweet.
Oh, look at that. Look at that. I'm not moving much though.
Oh, there we are.
Beautiful, man. Well done, mate. Well done. Yeah, so I mean that's obviously it's a different set, but the what was I going to say? It's loosely, but it's similar to in the UK. There is a similar thing, a basis on.
Legend, thank you for the follow.
Our laws are exactly the same as UK. When they created our government, our governing laws and body, or whatever the hell you want to put it, what it was is we were just taking the British laws. We would just take them. They were exactly the same unless stated otherwise.
Yeah,
that's, and then when we put on our Bill of Rights and then put our laws in, like those were the changes to what your guys' were. So our laws are almost exactly the same. Originally, they just kind of changed over the years. But yeah, we came from you guys. So
yeah, it's the same kind of thing. But obviously, because it was a new world, the right to bear arms was obviously to take over land and have it for your, not take over land, but be able to protect your bit of the new world as it was.
Yeah, because we can't, like, it came along with the like housing government or military body. Like you guys sent your military, like, oh, you have to give them housing. You have to let them live with you. And that came along with that. Like we're allowed to say no, and if they try to force it, we're allowed to fight back with equal amount of force that they, the government has against us.